This is our Unconstitutional Awakening program.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Brought to you by Kaytlyn, consultant we designed.
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. Tonight, guys, we're continuing in our dive through Spooky Month. And as usual, you know how much I love farming folks off TikTok. And actually, Kaytlyn sent this guy down my way, Mr. Q here from the Parallel Society. This guy is full of the kind of things we like. Open discussion about things, you know, just all the way out there, man. We don't care how fringe it gets and how weird it is, but we want to have good dialect without getting into a fight, because we don't need no more of that name calling like they had that one night, Luis. So, of course, you know, we got a lot going on tonight. First thing I got to make mention of is welcome back my good friend and co-host that we haven't seen around in a while, Mr. Kell. Kell, how are you doing this evening, buddy? I hope that's good to see you,
brother.
Man.
Good to see you, man. And I want everybody that's listening to know the value, how much I value this brother right here. JB is a great, open-minded brother and a real human being. And I'm glad to be back on the show, Jay. I miss you too, man. You and sis.
Man, it's good. It's good to hear that voice again, man. So I'm excited to see what this brings, because, you know, this is your first time hanging out with our other co-hosts that are here tonight that you guys are getting familiar with, Luis and Kaytlyn. Luis, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good.
Good. You've been busy all week, man. I've missed hanging out with you. I hope you're changing the world out there, even though you've been busy.
I hope so.
That's
Work in progress. We got to reshape the world through telling it a new idea.
That's right. Kaytlyn, how's things going over there for you? I know you've been feeling a little under the weather this week.
Yeah, I had some kind of respiratory crap. I'm okay now.
Good. I'm glad that you could make it this evening. And I appreciate you bringing, you know, Q, my attention onto Q here. Like I've seen you guys hanging out on TikTok Live over there, having some good conversation, and I've been following him since. And he's out there just trying to have these open discourse discussions with everybody, man. I see him out there just trying to push it with everybody, and that's good. That's how we bring change. I think talking about these subjects, about any subject, is how we bring change. People have gotten such into the realm of typing words to each other, and everything is misconstrued in typing. And I think we have lost more friends over the past decade or so to people misunderstanding things in text, and people fighting on things like Facebook and Instagram through text message, you know, through text and such. And there's a lot of it's hard to convey what someone's trying to say if you're reading it yourself. It's always best to hear it straight from the mouth. So, you know, that's a lot of the reason I think that the whole revolution will never be televised thing. Like, I think that's what this whole podcasting thing is. You know, like, there's so many of us out there, but I think it's great because there's there's never anything that you can't watch, and there's always something good and interesting to talk about. You know, I got the stuff going on there with Red Pill Project, and you guys have seen us kind of joining other folks on other shows here recently, because we're all about spreading that love and trying to bring other folks together and bring awareness to all kinds of things. I don't care what it is, man. And, you know, you can find all that good stuff and find all the links to how to get back to everybody that is here this evening over here at unconstitutionalawakening.com, guys. We've been making this website get even better than it was. You can check out sections for the host. Now that Kell's back, we're going to get him hooked up so that you can follow him in some more areas. Over here in the podcast some more section, we've got the podcast, of course, and subsections for everybody on the show. You know, just sharing stuff. Bandit, Neptune, Kaytlyn's got things going on, and I know there's more to come. You'll be able to find links to get back to everything where you can watch us on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute, where we thank you guys for giving us all that love. We don't know what happened on that one episode a couple days ago, but we're getting close to 800 views on that episode. So we appreciate everybody over there. And that's just on Rumble, by the way. We appreciate everybody over there on Rumble checking that episode out. And everybody out there listening across all the audio platforms, even the folks that seem to be blocked here recently, we're working on that. We'll get it situated. You can also find our awesome merch store and links back to all of our fantastic sponsors, Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, who's having a clearance sale. You guys make sure you get over there and check him out. And
Nice.
Brett Pike with Brett Pike's with Homeschools Connected, man, and he's got those Cubs to Bears books as well. He's trying to change society through homeschooling, and he's doing a fantastic job. So, you know, now I think it's just time to get past all this nonsense and let's get smoking into some good stuff. My apologies. If you guys didn't realize I'm masked tonight, I had to continue with spooky month. So, how you doing tonight, Q?
Hey man, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling real good, man. It's a good week for me, man.
That's good, man. That's what I like. So what got you? What started the Parallel Society?
Oh man, so the honest story is, you know, I spent a lot of time online getting into this, you know, flat Earth and just like conspiracies and stuff. And they're just, you know, there's always people in the chats who are just like really rude and aggressive, like, you know, trolls. And so, you know, I'm one who, you know, whatever kind of energy you give me, I'm going to give it back, but I'm going to give it back worse. So I've like mastered trolling, but like, I'm like, this isn't effective. This is fun, but it's not effective. So like, let me build a place where we can start actually having conversations, you know what I mean? And it started off as a Facebook group. I think we're pushing, just getting up to 600 members now in the Facebook group. And then I expanded to the TikTok from there just because that was like a nice little place. Like I love conspiracy talk. Like I was like, yo, what is this? Like I've avoided TikTok for like ever. And then I was like, yo, let me try it out. So, but yeah, that's kind of what it was. I wanted to teach people how to have discussions, teach people how to talk, while at the same time finding people that I could talk to who enjoy talking about the things I like to talk about.
No, that's a beautiful thing. You know, that sounds a lot of like some of the things we had going on here. You know, I'm a world heavyweight champion when it comes to being banned from social media platforms. Like I'm currently on a Facebook ban now after coming off of a Facebook ban. I think I made it 4 days this time.
Oh
So,
man.
I mean, it's just it's pretty common, and I'm in my 20s
Yeah.
something profile. Like it's been a thing, and you know that was a big push that led to the website unconstitutionalawakening.com, because I was like, well, I'm going to go post things on my own website where I want to, and then you can't ban it, you can't shut it down.
Exactly.
And then I was inspired being a co-host on the Red Pill Project. And I was like, man, I just need to get on to my own show. And,
Okay.
you know,
Absolutely.
here we are now. Now, I think it's been a blast since, you know, I keep coming across folks like you. And it's a big thing that I wanted to do, was have conversations without it getting heated and ridiculous. I can say in these 120 something episodes that have been filmed, it's like 100, and this will be 115 consecutive episodes as far as the number, but like we've had specials and stuff, and we've had a couple heated arguments, none like one most recently, which we all make jokes about because Lord, it was the greatest 2 hours I've had, I think, in a while. Just sitting here to the side, man. I was just like, it got nuts.
The heated arguments are very profitable for each individual involved. You know why? Because the truth comes out in strange ways when the emotion and when you're passionate about something, right? But when the disrespect come in, now that's where it just goes left.
The name calling, man. When you start just name calling folks for no reason, you're just like, what was the point in that? Like, what's like, you know, Luis, you're forever to that one guy going to be referred to as a globetard because he just couldn't stop calling you that all night long. And it's just like, why? Like, what benefit, what unity?
I prefer
did you bring?
heliosexual. I think that's I like that one better.
I do too. You know, and what benefit in the name calling? You know, like what lesson was learned? What was taught there by calling?
Well,
Name calling.
I think it's a tactic. It's a tactic when you can't conquer the person's point with tact. So I mean, they lose control and they start attacking the character of the person. They're trying to assassinate the character.
Nothing else to say.
Oh yeah, it's a tactic.
Nothing else to say.
If anybody does happen to follow Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates over there on Facebook, which is our Facebook page, we have a group of trolls right now trying their darndest to make me look like a fool, and then I keep memeing myself, and they're it makes them powerless. From my perspective, and I'm just like, what are you gonna do when you're trying to troll a troll that's willingly able to troll himself?
Literally, come under my bridge. Welcome.
Come hang out. Like it's fun, and Luis keeps telling me to block him, and I understand that, but I've there's been one of those things that's kind of like you and your idea of let's have a good conversation. I do actually have trouble blocking people, even though people make me upset. Even though people will call me names and stuff like that, I feel that I can continue to be the bigger person and ignore you and just not go out of my way to, make it a thing. Like that's just been a thing. I can honestly say there's only a couple people in my entire internet life that I've actually blocked, and it's some personal reasons that I don't want to get into on the podcast, to be honest. So, like everything else, especially trolls, I'm just like, if seeing me every day makes you so angry, block me.
But I only say that because even though blocking is like an extreme, at the same time, if they don't serve you in any way, if they're only there to create conflict,
I understand.
And I there's a great Black Mirror episode of like when you block them, like there was I think like a divorce, and the wife like completely blocked the ex-husband, I think it was, so he turned into a blur. And anything he said was not audible, and he was like a TV static representation of a human. So you couldn't see his face, you couldn't hear what he's saying, but he's speaking. And that's interesting because we're gonna build things to that scale eventually. It's something we can do.
That is interesting, and I think that's a good segue.
Well, I mean, going into the metaverse, like once everything transitions into that, because that's really where it's going. That's going to be a lot of people's reality. You
mean that PlayStation 2 waiting room?
Yeah, literally dead ass. Like I'm looking at that, I'm like, yo, but you know what? I think it's going to be grander than any of us expect it to be.
Maybe.
I don't think we're ready for what it really is going to be.
You don't have the pleasure of meeting Bandit tonight. He had to miss us this evening, but me and him think that it's gonna like fracture like the Jetsons and the Flintstones. There's gonna be people like me and Bandit. They're totally gonna be the Flintstones, and then there's gonna be people that want to continue with things like you're talking about, and they're totally gonna be the Jetsons. And I'm kind of okay with that. You'll learn throughout the night that I'm a weird fellow, but Luis was talking about the static thing, and you talking about the metaverse kind of leans back into the conversation we were having before the recording started about the the plausibilities of things being a simulation, which actually goes back to a point you wanted to bring up this evening, which I think I'd like to kick off with, which is you were talking about things being geocentric, and I'd like for you to explain that to the folks out here listening that might not be familiar with the term, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so modern science teaches us that our universe, everything that there is a heliocentric. All the planets and everything revolve around the sun. So essentially, the geocentric model of the universe is where we consider that everything is revolving around the Earth, and I think that it's plausible because of our position where we are, and how we arrived at the conclusion that we were in a heliocentric universe. That was essentially by looking at the stars and watching them create circles above us in the sky. And then from that, the conclusion was drawn that, okay, circles are being made, so something is spinning. something is rotating.
Yeah.
And they went ahead and you know the story from there. Started making globes and all other crap, blah 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 blah.
Sure.
But I'm essentially opposed to that version of reality. I believed that for many years. It's probably been about like 7-8 years now that I've been like a hard-on flat earther. You know, I call myself, like I said, for simplicity, but you know,
Sure.
advocate of the geocentric model of the universe.
Well, no,
Can I add something with that, Jay, right quick?
Go right ahead, sir.
About being a flat earther is really nothing to be ashamed of. Because Galileo was on the prison. He was on house arrest for his ideas back then. And let me tell you something. The word planet, right, is a word, and then it has a suffix, plane and et. Okay, cigar is a big version of a cigar, and a cigarette. The suffix et means smaller. So cigarette is a smaller version of a cigar. So when you say plane et, a planet, you know, small plane. So, however, the truth is in the word.
Interesting.
I love that.
No,
I've never considered that. I mean, because like I've played around with the idea of what it could look like, because I don't know what. Like I've removed myself from like claiming I know what the universe looks like. So I like to play around with some different ideas. And one of my favorite ones, I don't know, one day I was sitting there and I got hit with this old Barney song, you know, that's talking about the man with the hole in the ground and it's the prettiest green grass. You know what I mean? Just because thinking about, Norse mythology, the giant tree that was in the center of everything, blah, blah, blah. Like, so now I'm like thinking what if there literally was just like a big plane up there and then there's like a hole that was cut there and then we were, under it is all water and darkness. And then, this little bit was dropped down into the water and created our universe. I don't know. I kind of I go off in like different tangents like that, but like, that's kind of where it made my mind go.
Like, okay. So
literally, yeah.
So this, but inside of a giant turtle swimming through a vast oceanous space.
I mean, but that book I was mentioning before, which really touches on this, the case against reality, why evolution hid the truth from our eyes, by Donald Hoffman. It goes into like how the way we understand reality is actually exclusively our own perception. It's our perception, and then we construct and we create rules around our limited perception. Absolutely. And the scope of just light of what's visible, like just to us, it's a fraction. It's like a tiny fraction of like all there is just on the visual spectrum and light spectrum. So there's so much we don't see.
You guys, I'll make sure that I have a PDF of that that book for you guys to check. I already actually got it pulled up and sharing it there, because you should really check it out.
We talked about that too.
What if the idea of the Earth, how it is part of an error in our perception? I don't like the thing is we don't know. There's a lot of things that we act as if we know, and then we're like, well, there's could be a case that we're fucking wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we just found a black hole that was spewing things out.
Well, we got to unlearn what they taught us, because it's definitely detrimental trying to build off of their knowledge. So we got to redemonstrate. We got to scientifically explore these truths for ourselves as much as we can, because clearly they say we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, which we haven't felt no bump. And every motion, you're going to feel resistance of the objects pushing through the force of what they call gravity. EMC, what's the Einstein?
Well, no, so what you're speaking about, the main reason we don't feel that is because of the gravity is our explanation.
Well, that's a theory. That's a theory, right? And I don't mean to like
technically gravity is still a theory.
Gravity is what keeps us down on the Earth, and that's why we don't perceive the movement of the planet, because we're really small, by the way. In the scope of the planet, we're tiny.
There's no problem with the idea of gravity. I wonder, my question when we start having the conversation of gravity is, what is the cause of gravity? And that's the real question, because sure, things fall to the ground. Why? Are we being pulled by the mass of Earth below us? Is that pulling us to itself? Or is there another alternative reason that we are falling to the ground? And I don't think the Earth is trying to give me a hug.
No.
Well, the truth is they don't really know what causes it, and that's why it's still technically a theory, because it can't be proven as an actual fact. I mean, it makes the most sense if you're gonna go with the rare earth thing.
Magnetic, like a magnetic hovercraft, like a magnetic hovercraft, like a magnetic craft, like a magnetic.
That says magnetism and not gravity is what holds.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so like, our theories, Luis, like we've talked about before on like space travel being like magnetic and such. Like being it's come across in some of the conversations.
You ever seen the where we figured out how to make things levitate through magnetism, but there's like small examples, like making a frog float.
Yes. Okay.
We find that.
So
that's with magnets though, like a very powerful magnet. Very powerful.
These magnets, and then on top of that, the frequency levitation, kind of like put weird wrenches in some of the theories of gravity that are out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and not only that, like the telekinesis. I mean, with Project Montauk and stuff, that started because they were doing experiments on people that had psychic abilities. Telekinesis, remote viewing, stuff like that. Stranger Things. That's what that's based on. But and MK Ultra and all that. But I mean, when you start to talk about, okay, if the government was looking into telekinesis, which means that you can move things with your mind, then where the fuck does gravity come from in that? Like, where does gravity play a role in that? Is your mind stronger than gravity?
Right.
Well, I always say I just consider gravity as like an amalgamation of the effects of a number of different things, which is density and buoyancy. And
mass.
If you have something and it's in something, if the thing is less dense than what it is submerged in, then the thing will sink. If the thing is less dense than what it is submerged in, it will float. And so we are currently submerged in oxygen. That is what surrounds you. You jump, oxygen is automatically under your feet until you hit the ground. So it's just like the same thing as water. It's fluid. It's similar to a fluid. And so therefore we fall through the air because we are more dense through the air, and we are stopped because there is ground below us.
The gravity is then measured in newtons. Gravity is
not measured accurately, because in order to measure gravity, you have to know the mass, and no one has ever accurately measured the mass of the Earth. So how are you going to? It's all projected.
It is all estimated.
Yes. So there's no accurate measurement.
But what we do consistently measure though is fall rate.
Sure.
Like the speed by which things fall. And that's at least a measurement of velocity of the pull.
Cool.
Bowling ball and feather touch.
Yeah, the bowling ball.
Yeah, when you do it in a vacuum, you do a very advanced, accurate test. Even when you're falling out of a plane, you generally are falling maximum at 120 miles per hour. You could fall much faster if you're trained, so you can like literally shoot down very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just stand still, it's like you can go up to 120 just by like.
But it's not fair when they like use the downward pull to say that that's gravity, right? And not display, prove how gravity can hold water underneath of the bottom side of a globe. If anybody do anybody know of any YouTube video that could demonstrate that?
Well, the reason why it's a scale. So the reason why you can't do that type of measurement.
Let me finish asking my question though. Have anybody on the panel seen any YouTube videos of anybody demonstrated scientifically how water could hold on to the circumference of a cipher?
No, they're always going to tell you that it can only happen because of how big the Earth is.
And you can't demonstrate it. You can't. My theory is that, not theory, but my point is that if you can't demonstrate it, how is it science?
Well, it's approximations. It's educated approximations based on a lot of measurements. That's why there's an Antarctic project that's to measure actually things like gravitational waves.
But then we get to like you said, educated measurements. But it's like, what are you studying? You're studying other people's approximations. Like, so
that's why it's still theory.
It's not, and then it's like, but then it's like all the people who agree with the approximations before, they support this new idea, and then anyone who thinks different gets Beauregarded, and the ideas get pushed out.
I mean, I have not heard much. I'd like to hear what are the arguments for, okay, if it's not gravity, then what? Right? That's right. The counterpoint. It's like, I'll simply say, all right, what's the alternative?
I'll reiterate: density and buoyancy. But
density and buoyancy are explained.
We are. I know, and that's what I'm saying. It's spelling. We're spelling. You know, it's the same way like how when you say you take Justin, JC, and all those guys, and then now they're in sync when you put them together. You take density and buoyancy, and now it's gravity. I created a word to explain the effects of what I see, but it's the effects of multiple things. So it's branding. That's literally what, because I went to school for graphic design, and I
like the way you just explained that. Actually, no, like I like I like the way you actually put that. Like put it, you know, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Like that was, I like that. I like that. That was.
You gotta. I don't know. People, we make up words all the time. Once I realized that Beyonce put bootylicious in the dictionary, all bets are off. All bets are off. Yes.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that it was her. It was that they determined because it was in so much use, they would put it.
Exactly. That's
but it wasn't that she did it. It's that her effect on culture did it, which is still her, but it's still through an effect of culture.
Listen.
Holy crap.
These are her feats. These are her accolades.
I mean, I'm not sure she's gonna be very proud of adding like a random word like that. But yeah, I remember when they did that.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when they did that. You can try to see the year. Oh, it says it right there. Look at the year. So it was entered like a year or 2 years after.
Can we just point out that one of the synonyms is bewitching, charming, engaging? Wow.
Wait. Could you hit that button that says like that actually says it? I would like to hear the computer say it again.
Ready? Oh well. All right. Let me go back so I can stare sound. I didn't have it on yet.
Let's hear a computer listen. Saying the word.
Yes.
Let's hear the computer say.
Please.
Bootylicious.
Bootylicious. Bootylicious.
The computers are not going to take over anytime soon.
God.
Oh man.
So I will say.
I seen this one spin on words. They say, what's the opposite of progress? Right? Everybody know that it's Congress, right? Mm-hmm. So it's progress means like
you're right.
Yes.
What is Congress doing?
Opposite of progress is Congress. That's never better said.
Yeah, that's good.
Especially here.
You know, I've done a little bit of looking into the geocentric model since you made mention of it in our conversation earlier last week, and like I am fascinated by a few things, and there's one thing that I have been kind of looking at all week. Me and Bandit have searched sharing videos back and forth. All these weird videos out on the internet that look like the sun is like right here, like clouds behind it and shit like that. And it's some interesting stuff because like I mean I understand camera angles.
The videos where the clouds look like they're going behind the sun are definitely bizarre.
Like that's some good
I
stuff.
will give it that. And I've heard some explanations, but I'm like, I get it's some type of optical illusion that can occur through refraction.
This is how it works.
Well, it's because there's actually some explanation, but it was kind of complicated. Basically, what you're watching, depending on that type of day and the year, you're not watching the sun. Like the sun's not here. The sun's in a different location. You're watching a reflection of the sun. And that's why you're getting that weird effect because you're watching a reflection of the sun. But it's like a rare situation.
Reflecting off of
the earth.
The earth is under me when I'm looking up at the sun. So I'm not looking at a reflection.
No, you're looking. This only happens like in sunsets.
This could possibly just be glitches. I mean, Josh, I think it was from the Red Pill Project,
I will
presented
take
this
that.
theory. Yeah, he presented this theory that we are
Much more
all
plausible.
actually,
That's a more plausible
like,
reason.
Jim Bob, you know what I'm talking about? We're kind of in a spaceship, like going across space and like comatose in the pods. Have you heard that yet?
I've heard. I mean, I will submit to that one only under the pretense that I'm not going to assume what we are flying around in.
Oh, no,
I can't say that we're in a spaceship or we're in a container.
Wouldn't it be weird?
You know what I mean?
We are actually in a spaceship going towards another planet, and this is the story of what happened.
They're trying to tell, like, maybe, but Naya's theory was that the simulation is what they are kind of giving our mind to keep busy during these millions of years of flight inside of these pods while we're frozen, but our mind's not frozen. So,
to Q's point, and I heard Luis mention this again. This was earlier before we actually started recording. That like this geocentric idea, this geocentric, the thought plan or whatever, really aligns
limits of the simulation.
Really aligns a lot into the simulation theory. And I've made mention of this before in the past that people have laughed at me too for making this statement, but I'm like, well, a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of flat earthers and simulation earthers kind of believe some of the same things. And people are like, what? And then this is the point I'm making here, because if we are a simulation and we're all we're all in the Sims in a thing like she's talking about, all right, inside of the giant turtle flying through this ocean space. Like this could be, like you just said, the story of how we got there or something. Like we're just, I mean,
it would be fascinating, right?
That until the spaceship lands where it needs to land, or the turtle lands where it needs to land.
If you're going to run a simulation, you have to have a computer. The computer has to have a hard drive storage. So the enclosed system, it is a storage system. It's a hard drive.
It's the battery, like in Rick and Morty.
That's another part of what he was saying too. Is that we might not all be the only.
You know what I mean?
We're the battery.
In
Rick's car.
And then let's take it real. Let's take it real deep.
That's simple.
Like I don't identify with the physical body. The physical body is the shell. All right. So I already see myself as an immaterial being. This is my container.
That already starts to break apart the idea that this is real, right? So when you think of yourself as an energy,
I gotta ask you,
your energy flowing into this.
What are you saying by real, as opposed to not real? What do you define real for me?
That's exactly what I'm going for. So you, the what we call the soul, connected to the antenna being the brain. So the antenna that connects this mech suit. So outside of that, you can exist. And inside of this, you exist. And we call real that just which we interact with. I'm not saying that you are not part of real. I'm saying interaction is what we designate as the real. What we all agree to as the interaction points.
Would it be accurate to say that real is physical reality?
The physical that we experience, like here, like I'm doing here, touching a table, like I'm here touching.
Because that seems to like exclude spiritual reality, and I think that would be a mistake.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That there's two different ways
as well, and what we experience spiritually has a more grander effect on physical reality than when we think. Like we're like, okay, think about it. Like, okay, a guy gets stabbed with a knife. All right, we're seeing that as a physical thing, but it's really because he banged somebody's wife and a guy got angry. So it's really spiritual. Like it's not a physical thing. It's just manifesting. The ink that is being used in this printer is this man stabbing the other guy.
What are your feelings and thoughts on the light that's driving the mech suit? Because that's what I like to refer to ourselves as.
I'm with you there.
What are your feelings that we chose exactly this and know exactly what the fuck we're doing, even though we have not a clue?
That is one that I'm not against that. Like because everyone's like, oh, I didn't choose my parents. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know? How do you know? Like, you don't remember anything from before when you started remembering, honestly. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm one, like, I'm pro-life, but, you know, I'm also pro-choice, but I'm pro-life because I think that we are alive even when we are in our father's seed. Like, we're alive there. And in my opinion, the light comes from the father. It goes into the womb, and the mom carries the body. She houses the mech suit. The father puts the light into the mech suit, and we as individual spirits begin to build our own bodies.
And other people have said those points too. We're talking on reflection on things that have been said thousands of years ago that other people agreed with you on. And that's why they said, I think it was the Greeks that said reality was started when Jesus basically came on the earth.
Oh, stop.
That's how life started. So just came on earth. It's like, well.
See, the issue with that statement is that it's equating the light beginning the projection to us busting a nut, when in actuality, us busting a nut is a less grander form of whatever the creator did. We can't.
We call seeding a planet panspermia.
Well,
when a planet is seeded with life, is called panspermia.
That's. I'm not. You know, that makes sense.
Interesting.
That's science. That's science.
I mean, but I mean, science, at the end of the day, you know, and I've made this argument with a lot of folks and stuff. At the end of the day, like the physical form that we see of each other through these boxes that we're speaking to each other with are just what our light form has brought into physical perception for us to interact with, to put explanation to the things that are going on in this dimension of reality, you know. But I really, when you get into like the spiritual aspects, you know, like you were making mention, you know, like, yes, like at some point in time, your light said, well, I want to do this life because I need to learn these lessons and I need to break this family's generational curses, you know, and you know, that's why you're with this specific family or whatever. And you've got, you know, you made these choices, you know, people that are like, I'm, you know, I didn't choose any of this, like you were saying, like I kind of look at them and I'm like, well, yeah, you kind of did. And you know, it's your job.
Isn't that the weirdest thing, that even all our spirit guides, all those people that try to connect, they all tell them, no, you did.
You did. You know,
and that just means it's like choosing a video game. You know, when you go to a video game store and you see this wide selection of video games, what if the spiritual side of us is like doing that, but on very, very complex level? It's like, well, I'll take a dash of this, I'll take a dash of that, and I'll take a dash of this, and boom.
My soul feel like this. I read a brochure about Earth. The brochure totally mismarketed everything, and I went face value on the brochure and came here.
You got gypped. We all got gypped. I think we all got sold a bad bag of goods.
But see, that goes back into that goes into the simulation theory that kind of, in a way, ties the Mandela effect thing, because of something else you were mentioning, Luis, that I feel too. Like, if it is a simulation, if it is, you know, us choosing.
What if Mandela effects are just software updates?
What are Mandela? What if somebody has, you know, infected the simulation with a virus, and that could explain some of the atrocities, that could explain some of the things that are just completely
I just want to point out, I just want to interject, because, you know, I am like non-traditional Christian. That's literally the Bible. That's what sin is. Sin is literally the infection in this system that was built by the creator. Like, that's literally the story.
That's one of the viruses. Politics and governments is the other side of the virus. Church and state, those are hella viruses.
And we selected government, and we continue to say it, when government means control of the mind.
Literally, yes. Yes, I posted that on the Parallel Society TikTok page a couple months ago. Like, literally.
Great point. And television is teleporting. They teleporting visions into our mind. They don't have power, guys. They trick us into giving them our power by letting them have access to the real estate of our mind. So collectively, like in the Christian Bible, it says they have become one people, and nothing they put their mind to, they won't be able to achieve now. Goes back to that prayer, says, when one or two, there I am in the midst. So here it is, once we combine our collective thoughts, yes, I do believe we can manifest. But how are we going to manifest anything when we looking up to Big Brother to do all the thinking for us?
Yeah.
And the sheeple,
I mean, some people, let me say, some people want to be dominated that way. Some people want to be given the rules, the instructions, the plans, the food. Some people really do want that. And you can't take that away from them, that they just really are fine with it.
I mean, I think that's fine. I think that if we're thinking in terms of like someone creating and designing us, like if someone creates a pencil, the pencil is for the purpose of writing. Another man could pick it up and use it. Again, I like stabbing, so he could use it to stab somebody, but that's changed its use, but that doesn't change its purpose. I say that to say that a lot of people do want to be fed like sheep, but they are supposed to be shepherds. They're supposed to be helping lead the flock. And it's wrong if you are a leader and you're following. That's an issue. You're not.
And the tricky part is how much is it their fault counter to society, the environment they're in, right? So because you could say there's a level of responsibility that individual then has for the collective, and they can choose to take the hard route, the difficult route that can lead them to become that leader that can then create good for the world, but it's hard. So some people will choose not to.
It doesn't matter if it's hard. Learning how to run is hard. Learning how to do anything is hard at the beginning. It's about consistency. It's about recognizing it.
They don't want to use their brain. They don't want to use their power, brother. They want someone else to do the thing. Thinking is hard, right? Anything that has to do with growth is hard. But listen, in the movie The Matrix, the character Cypher, where you put an ALU in front of Cypher, you get loose Cypher, right? So Cypher, he just wanted stability and prestige into the Matrix, right? He wanted to forget the truth and just wanted to enjoy.
Well, he wanted the devil's bargain. Yeah. Like, remember, if you go back to just the idea of the devil's bargain with Jesus when he's doing the fasting, that he says, I'll give you the best riches of the world and all that stuff. If you look at that story from the perspective of, well, one, a person's been fasting for like a month, obviously he's going to be hallucinating at that point. But the idea that you're being offered, that's what the movie was kind of pointing out. It's like the devil being the machine. The machine is the devil that we created. We built the devil. We are the constructors of the evils that we inhabit. And you can look at it from that perspective. We built the evil that we're fighting.
Why do we think? Why would we think that?
I'm saying that's what the movie is saying as well.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's true.
I'm speaking what the movie is saying in relationship to evil, that we built the evil that we're fighting.
So like the Gnostic version is that Yaldabaoth, right? Thought he was the supreme, right? So Yaldabaoth is accredited with fashioning through matter, all the bodies, everything that has form of this world, right? So Sophia, which is another form of wisdom, you feel me? Spoke the truth to mankind, right, and raised mankind's consciousness up, right? So check it out. So Satan taking Jesus to the top of the mountain, it makes sense if he said, I'm gonna give you all the kingdoms of the world, right? When how else could it be if Satan don't own? Well, Satan has to be like interchangeable with Yaldabaoth, right? Because Yaldabaoth thinks he owns this realm. He is the god of this realm, right?
Yeah, he's the prince of this world. I mean, that's what it says in scripture. He is the prince of this world.
Right, exactly right. So that's the only way. I'm sorry for interrupting you, sister. That's the only way Satan could have took Jesus up to a mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. Say, I will give you these, because he can't give something that he don't. He says that. So yes, and he's a false god. He's a lesser god. He's a malicious. He's meaning. I'm speaking in terms of a group of beings representing one entity, just like Elohim means the gods. The way to get the word God from in Genesis is Elohim. It's more than one God. That's why they say let us, because the word is speaking about a group of beings.
Yeah.
But they got us all. The television brothers, you know, they energy vampires, right? So horror movies and stuff like this, entertainment, the sports, getting people riled up. All this is forms of food for these so-called gods. I forget who wrote that book called Food for the Gods. But that's what they are. They feeding off our energy, whether it's anger, hurt, excitement. Yeah,
I always like to remember. I always like to remind people that this is a real patent. Like, this isn't. You know what I'm saying?
There was manipulation by electromagnetic field from monitors. Damn, they was not creative about it at all.
But see now this. Okay, so with the fact that this goes into manipulation of electromagnetic fields. Okay, so hear this out. This goes back into kind of some of the things we were talking about, whether it be flat, whether it be simulation, whether it be a turtle floating through the ocean. There's a good way to put it if you want to, I don't know, kind of mix all of them together, which is a fractal holographic synergetic universe. Like this.
Yeah, you know, that makes sense.
It's created by sound and light, and you know all the cool. I don't know who's familiar with it here, aside from like me and Luis, but when you go and visit these really cool places because of special things that grow from Earth and things like that, like mushrooms and such, you can see some of this sacred geometry, and that's where this sacred geometry ties into this thing that I'm talking about here. I'll make sure I share a link to this, because this is super interesting stuff. This mixes a lot of what we were talking about.
I can almost feel
in this, right? And
we're built off frequencies. We're just frequencies vibrating.
Like if you're looking at think like comic books, like old comic books, how they used to print comic books. They used to do it with dots.
All right.
So our universe is literally that. It's just
but a very tiny scale.
That's what atoms are. Atoms are pixels.
Sunlight through a crystal. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get your little rainbow, when you hold the crystal up into the air.
So you ever heard of the holographic universe theory? Okay, so to simplify it to some degree, what I remember, I mean, it could be wrong, of course, on the description, but the holographic universe theory is essentially like all reality is flat. All absolute reality is flat, meaning in some ways the flat earth would be correct, but it's like a whole different perspective.
I've said this before.
But we're talking all of absolute reality is flat. We are just projections of that absolute flatness, and we are projected as a globe and so on. But that's a whole different tangent on string theory and so on.
They totally did an episode about this on Rick and Morty, where they got trapped by some aliens inside of a holographic universe that was two-dimensional, but it was, you know what I'm saying? But they were like it's interesting to think, but I like how the 2D, 3D, 4D, like, see, a shadow is a two-dimensional version of us, right?
Yes.
So what?
And whatever you were saying, what if we're a shadow of a fourth dimensional being?
Are we just a shadow of a fourth dimensional being? That's a shadow of a fifth dimensional being. And I mean, if we had Kat and Kaytlyn here, Kat and Kate, our local spirit guides that hang out with us, they'll tell you, well, yeah, you're going 23 dimensions up and down. There's a negative 23rd dimension and a positive 23rd dimension.
I just know that we are the key and the lock, fellas. Cause when you're in a dream state, when you're in that dream seems just as real as this awakened state that we call awakened by looking through But when I take my glasses off, I wear glasses. When I take my glasses off, my glasses don't see reality themselves, but I peer through these convex lens, concave lens, right, to my focus point for my frequency, right. And that's what our bodies are and our minds are, because we definitely supersede. We think we're breathing air right now, the body is, but the soul, everybody that's inside the vehicle ain't breathing. So air doesn't substantiate your existence. These elements are not your building blocks. They are the building blocks of the temple of your body, right? So we lost the teachings, like when they say, let's go down and confound their language, So And all the Egyptian mystery schools, I think, was teaching the soul how to unfetter itself from the flesh.
The body. Well, that's why the Egyptians were very interesting. And then there's
I mean, I
the
want
Egyptians were studying the Egyptians. That's how old the Egyptians were. They were studying ancient Egyptians.
I want to kind of jump back into that point before we lose it. Like we're talking about the physical body being a shadow of the spirit, and that's like I said, I think the spirit is responsible for the cell division at the point of inception. It is literally the spirit is making the cells divide and building this, and that would make it a shadow of the spirit. The spirit is developing the body.
Yes, absolutely. It does activates everything. I had a point I wanted to say just then about the spirit. Oh my God! So like the Egyptians had Ba and Ka, right? The Ba is the spirit, Ka is the energy, soul form, right? But I like to play around with the idea, like you got a cell phone, right? And then you have a cloud account to where all your contacts, everything, your pictures you save on this cloud, right? Lo and behold, your phone get damaged, right? That's the body, right? And then you replace that phone with a whole new phone, and all that information that you had on your cloud, you download back to the new phone. That's what I think the soul is. The soul is an amalgamation of all the accumulated wisdom and experiences.
Yes.
Load up on the cloud. So no matter what device you get, you always gonna be you downloaded. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take consciousness and input it into it.
Like Chappie. What's that movie, Chappie?
Right, Chappie. Good point.
There's a few different books that I can recommend that kind of get into some interesting old Egyptian stuff. I actually personally studied a lot of ancient Egypt too. I was extremely fascinated by it and started at a young age. And I've read a lot of their translated holy text and like different versions of things and some of their myths and mysteries and stuff like that. And like there is some fascinating tiebacks to a lot of things like this, a lot of things going on over here in South America and stuff like that. And like this is where I like to bring up the point that I believe that at one point in time human beings were far more advanced and more connected to the planet than we are now. And I think connection back to that planet is key.
Prove that.
Well, I mean, I think connection back to our planet is key to finding that. That's why, like, when it comes to I guess the fourth industrial revolution, as you would call it, like Luis was inspired to make that artwork you see at the beginning of me, that is like me fighting AI. And it's not that I'm like fighting AI, like I think it has great potential and plausibility to be used for great with us, but like I do feel that a lot of these mega corporations that already don't give two shits about you do have foul intentions.
Why would they want to give a shit about you? They build the machine so they don't have to think.
That's what I'm saying.
That's kind of the trick.
That's
in that movie Glass that what is his name Samuel L. Jackson played in Glass. At the end of it, the lady said, whenever one of you point up, the opposite of you point up, and we can't have gods walking on the earth. We've been controlling this system for the last 2,000 years, and it's been running. So listen, there's a group of entities that don't want humanity to escape their control, guys. And initially, humanity at the core is not unlawful. It's not prejudice, because there's nothing wrong with being racist. That's just mean you loving the group of people that you were born into, like you love your family members.
I agree.
Prejudice is where the problem is. That's right. And how the elites that really don't have power trick us into giving them the mind, governing the mind. That TV in every household, guys, is a danger. Trust, because you're shaping what people think. You're shaping you're giving them a false pretense of reality to go upon a ruler that they really don't have to play by, but they consent on looking at what's called reality by this boob tube interpretation of reality. The moon landing, guys. Everybody heard the whole world was
Oh,
fake.
Kel, we totally had, while you were gone, man, we had Bart
We had the
Sabrell on
number
here.
one guy for that.
Number one guy for that. Bart Sabrell came on here and talked about his footage and his book, and like he was a joy, and he actually still contacts me because
once you see his stuff, you kind of really like you can convince almost anybody about it after that.
Oh, yeah.
Like you just show them that, their brains just go like, fuck.
Yeah, because he really does have something that clearly looks like the real footage that they
went to space, but then they were creating a show after that.
Right.
The thing to
Like,
get me though,
was
it's not supposed to be gravity up there on the moon, but then here it is when you see the flag there. Who took the picture of the landing there was already, the person that took the picture had already. But listen, the flag was
No. Let's ask this question. It's like, how did they get a recording of the thing going
back up?
Off?
Yeah.
Look,
they made a U-turn and came back to pick up the camera.
Did it for me.
U-turn, like, wait, I forgot the camera.
You forgot the camera, guys.
My favorite is when they call the White House on landline.
They call the landline.
Yeah.
That's it for me. And in the background of that picture is
hello, can I get the moon?
So
in the background of the picture.
And you can hear in the recording that they intentionally tell the astronauts to wait because there's supposed to be a interference, a delay. So they're forced to tell them, hey, don't talk.
Right.
Okay, now talk. And then they never explain who the fuck that voice is saying that says you can talk now.
Right. But then like
it didn't happen. We don't talk about it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, the rover that they was driving, guys. I mean, the rover that they landed in, all that aluminum foil wrapped around that piece. I don't think.
Nixon Tommy Tom Holland.
With a picture taken from the moon in the background. Take your time.
I don't know if that picture's real, but it'd be funny if it's real.
The golf cart.
That image is real. That's ridiculous.
Was sturdier than the moon rover.
Yeah.
But I think they did go to the moon, just not the way they.
The argument is simple. We were in a war. We tricked Russia into thinking that we were doing it and forced them to spend $500 billion doing it.
Yeah.
So were we successful? Yes.
They lost that Russian guy, bro.
I never considered that it would have been like, hey, we're going to pretend to be doing this so someone else
fuck your budget.
Their money trying to beat us. Like, I mean, I knew something was big with the Cold War. Like,
and then the Russians just launched a man into space to be lost to the vast emptiness.
Oh no, they killed multiple people going to space. I think it's estimated they killed 16 people going up.
So not only are they wasting money, they're like nuking their heroes.
No, they killed. Evidently, there was a woman that went to space. Like, there's confirmed that they had the first woman. She just died.
Yeah,
there's recordings of Russians screaming and like saying we're about to die because the capsule is failing. Like, they're going down into the earth and it's gonna explode. And you hear the recordings of them like help, screaming for help. So there's recordings. Disturbing. Actually, that would be, if you want to play that crazy
find one
footage, because that's real. No, because they captured it. So the radar, at the time they were able to catch that call for help. Somebody was able to listen and record it.
Back here.
They were crashing back to Earth, but it was failing. The heat shields were failing.
So this makes my mind.
They were about to explode.
This is how my mind thinks. Like, I'm weird. Like, okay, so they're falling towards, and they're sending a radio signal towards the ground. Are they like? Is there a delay with the radio signal with how fast? Like you know how like when things.
I mean,
you know what I mean? You know, like that.
No, because you have to think. So the difference is there's really no perceptual delay. I mean, the same type of delay you could say there could be, but we're talking about. It's minuscule. Like this is the level of delay, and the reason is because the Earth is 200 or 300,000 kilometers away from the moon. That's a substantial distance. The light takes 2 seconds to get there. So our radio signals with its inefficiencies, there will be a delay of higher than 2 seconds.
I found it.
Oh, you found it?
I'm trying to see if it's just the clip or if it's the whole thing.
You'll have to see the translation because I think they're screaming in Russian.
I would think so.
JB, I'm gonna have to leave because I got to get this boy to bed. He got school tomorrow, man. I will be back on. I'm so glad I had this conversation, Lewis, and what's the Q and sister? What's her name again?
That's Kaytlyn.
Kaytlyn, I look forward to having another discussion with you guys. JB, thank you so much, man. Call me, JB, message me when you get off.
I'll talk to you in a little while, Kell. I appreciate you joining us this evening, my friend.
Hey, keep up the good work, everybody. I'm so glad to be a part of the Truth organization here. All you pioneers and soldiers of saving humanity with this truth, and open-mindedness.
That means the most coming from you, friend. So I appreciate that so much.
Love y'all, man.
Have a fantastic evening.
You have a wonderful day.
Love you too, brother.
And we'll see you on the next episode, bud. Hopefully.
Yes, sir.
But and I think that's that's some good points. And yes, I did actually find the recording. If you guys would like to check this out real quick.
Yeah,
because I can't remember the full details, honestly.
The first 13 seconds was just.
Oh, that's right. They were basically screaming how mad they were, basically, at the space program.
Yeah, the first 13 seconds was just beeping. So I've got past that, but we're gonna listen to the rest of it.
Oh, I would be cursing.
They went down, shows what they're saying.
When it's kind of translated or whatever, it's this dude is crying for his life because he realizes he's about to die. And even
the guy you're hearing clearly is the guy on the ground.
Yeah, the guy on the ground
really fast is the guy on the radio.
Even the guy on the ground was crying too. Like it was pretty rough. You know what I'm saying? Like it.
Oh no!
There's a bad picture, but that was totally Vladimir what they found. And it was a pretty rough situation.
And that's not the first time. The Russians have had multiple crashes, but it wasn't until I think Kaytlyn fell. Their connection.
I think she fell through. Yeah, she fell. She probably be back.
But that event was, the US had fucked up, but Russians have fucked up 10 times worse. And they already even sent a woman into space, and then they also killed her.
See, and then this is what when people say, "Oh, well, what's the point of like flat, whether it's flat or it's a globe?" This is the point, because if people actually know what the deal is, and they're still continuing to do this kind of shit to save face, like you're playing with people's lives, like over like coming up with a lie so that you can continue to make money. Like it's literally for profit.
Whatever the case may be, we should discover what the heck is outside, regardless if we've been told the truth or we've been told a lie. Then we should discover then what is the lie covering up.
Yeah,
because again, at the end of the day, I've not gone up to space. You've not gone up to space. He's not gone up to space. And we don't know anybody physically, personally, that's gone up to space. Mm-hmm. And even then, it's the group of people that have gone to space, like less than 400 people.
Literally.
According to the record, it's less than 400 human beings on the planet. So it's a very small club, and you're not invited.
That's true words can't be said, and there's some truth to that perspective of things,
we hope. If our stories are real, if our science is based on some form of reality, and we didn't just fuck up the entire equation, and because that's the thing, it's like we just discovered that a black hole was spewing things out, and we didn't think it would happen. We theoretically thought it could happen, but we started seeing it now. So that
I don't know what exactly. Like, I want to see what people are saying when they say things like this.
No, yeah, that just came out. So you can just look at black hole X releases matter. So they don't realize, they don't know. They're checking right now. They have no idea. They're just said that started happening a few months ago. So the observations are like, okay, we observed this a while back, and now we're observing this. What's this? Because the thing is, some things that show up like now it's like data from like months ago or years ago, and it's been compiled through time to create the presentation you hear now. Sometimes it's like 4 years of research condensed in what you're seeing in a few minutes. The picture of the black hole took a long time and took like almost everything on the planet aiming at it at different angles to just eventually get enough information to build the idea of what's the image of the black hole.
Cap.
No. I mean, I don't.
That's all I'm saying to that.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's a. I don't know. I find like I'm a really adept liar, right? And one of the best things about like telling a good lie is like you keep it simple, but there has to be truth within it. Right?
Well,
like,
there was hundreds of people involved, hundreds of scientists involved. So if that's a
saying,
lie, then damn, that was a very orchestrated lie.
It doesn't have to be
a lot of nerds that are horrible at lying.
It doesn't have to be
Can I point your attention back to a certain Winnie the Pooh situation? And how
What
many
about
people
Winnie
were
the
in
Pooh?
on that nonsense?
Well,
I mean,
yes, true, but astrophysicists are not paid well.
fair.
They are not paid well enough. They are not paid enough. Comparatively speaking, are you kidding me? Those people are not paid enough to lie.
Go ahead, Q. I'm sorry to interrupt. I
completely lost my train of thought, but sometimes I get agitated when we start talking about space.
Right. No, I understand.
It's where nobody can hear you scream.
Literally, I'm like, I used to want to be an astronaut. I think everybody wanted to be an astronaut. So a part of me is very angry at these people for lying to me and giving me this dream and then like snatching it away from me. So there's like a little bit of a child Q inside of me who gets angry.
I mean, we still need to hope, because I do actually believe in the idea that we're a floating rock in space. I mean, it could all be wrong, but I kind of still have that belief in it. I did have once like this experience through meditation of seeing the earth from the outside. Mm-hmm. I'm much older when I'm seeing it. I'm like in my 80s when I'm seeing it, but it's incredible. Mm-hmm. But I see it like when I'm 80 something years old. The earth from outside.
Interesting. No, that's that. You should have told.
I hope I do. I did something right. If my 80s, I'm outside of Earth. Like, oh look, I actually got out of the planet.
You should have told Kat and Kate about that. They probably would have had some perspective on that for you. We got to meet them one day. Q, man, we had these guys are wild. These girls are wild, and they're real funny, and they love they put Bandit so unnerving that he spends the episode going no because like they're hitting things on the nail and he don't know what to do with it. Like I do, and with that I do hope that we get visited by you again. Of course, you're I've had a blast with you tonight, and you're always welcome to come back and hang out with us. Awesome, we love repeat people and repeat conversations because you learn more and more every time somebody pops in. And Kaytlyn did just message me. She's having phone issues, so she probably won't join us back for the last few minutes of this evening. But before we get ready to sign out for the evening, I like to go around and get some last thoughts from everybody. And so, Q, since you're the guest tonight, any last thoughts or feelings or anything you'd like to leave the listeners with before we get ready to sign out tonight?
Okay. This is something I wanted to say earlier. When it comes to like discovering truth with anything, whether it's flat earth, religion, anything, you have to want truth, and you have to want the truth no matter what it means for where you stand currently. You have to be willing to say, okay, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I'm going in this to find out what is. And like when it comes to like this flat earth thing, like we all become a flat earther when we find something in the story that intrigues us personally. You know what I mean? And like once it hits you, you're like, okay, this is something I know something about, and I don't think this is going to be right. You start looking into it, you can't disprove it, and then everything else starts to fall into place. So just make sure, like, if you really want truth. If you want to be where you are, that's fine. No one should have a problem with that. And I think that if you're comfortable with that, be comfortable with that. But don't try to force other people. And other people, if you're searching, man, look for that truth in what you love.
No, that's beautiful. You've had a lot of great things that you've said tonight. And I've enjoyed my time with you this evening. You seem very wise and on the level, and I love your open-mindedness and willing to talk about anything. Like that's a key point around here. So, Luis, what you got for me tonight?
Really crazy. I'm like really, really, really off the ball. I've just learned to feel it well in public places. So I feel like I'm among good company.
Brother,
you touched a great point with the search for truth can be painful. That's really fundamentally what is scariest of the idea, is that once you discover, dang it, truth is horrible. I didn't want to know this. Like we were once discussing, what if evil is the default and good is the variant? Like we don't know these rules. We just expect them based off our limited knowledge of our past, which is constructed by spiritual individuals that wrote books about spiritual things. So if you look back enough, and then you realize that our current reality is really based off mostly books written thousands of years ago, and then us living our lives off these books that were written thousands of years ago as guides to living life, because they were kind of designed so if society collapses, you could use these books to rebuild society. So if you take a Bible, you take a Quran, you take a Torah, those books are guidebooks to civilizational building. And we've survived enough that we already have several versions, but 13,000 years ago, we had a reset. And who knows what's going to happen next, but it could all be simulation. It could all be this is based reality. But either way, just try to connect.
Thing, I'd like to touch on that survival thing you just said there. This is another thing me and Bandit actually do say quite a lot. Human beings are some of the most thriving creatures there really are. We have been through hell and back, regardless of what culture you come from, what race you are, what genre you attend to, what other country you're from. There have been atrocities committed to human beings across the board, and we have still prevailed at the end of all of it.
The world's never going to end for us.
Yeah, and they like to use that as a fear tactic, and even in the World Economic Forum's simulations of reality that they run, and when they're trying to do things like this, like the COVID thing, for example, at the end of the day, all of their plans always fail because eventually people get fed up with the shit and come together and decide to bring change about their own way and their own reality. That's something we're big on about here. We have introduced and made friends with a lot of people that are offering alternative options to the things that we need in our everyday life, whether it be housing ideas, food ideas, just life ideas in general. And I think these are all great things to be working on while Rome crumbles. That's something I do say quite a lot. And it's meeting people like you and talking to people like you, Q, that make this all the better. You know what I'm saying? There's more people that I can see that from my perspective are on the right side of history, trying to bring about change instead of going with whatever these psychopaths that have been running things for the past 80 years through genetic lines, if not more. You know what I'm saying? But at least the past 80 years that I can prove, and it's time for us to do something better for our children and our children's children and even ourselves. We should be expecting better and holding all of these nut jobs that are telling us this, that, and the other to a higher standard. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean the nut jobs like ourselves who have a great time talking about Lord knows what in places like this. I mean the ones that we call our leaders that have proven to be the opposite of that. I'm going to share the video with this episode just because it's funny.
Leaders.
Yeah, well, because that I'm not going to bring it up on this episode, but I'm going to share it with the episode because we brought it up before the conversation. That video of AOC making herself look like a complete asshole.
She's mocking her constituents here in New York and in Astoria, Queens. I mean, and this area is part of her district, and those were people that live in her district. And she just started laughing and mocking them, and then speaking in accents which she doesn't have.
No. and it's
Went there.
ridiculous.
She was mocking them. She was
Yeah.
mocking them,
Yeah.
like flat out mocking them. She's like, "Oh, these are just Republicans or whatever." I'm like, "No, those are your constituents. Those people voted for you. Those people were registered Democrats."
Yeah, and you let them down, and they're voicing their opinion, and I think that's a key point right there. You know, these are we have to remember that these are real people. You know what I'm saying? And all it takes is us coming together like that, and being cordial about it. You don't have to be a psychopath, but being cordial about it and voicing that distrust, that dislike, that whatever.
I'm still perplexed that the voter guide in English and the voter guide in Spanish have a distinct design difference. Find it interesting.
As a designer, it's likely a cultural decision that you're highlighting certain things.
I know, but in Spanish they highlighted nothing, and in English they highlighted something, and who knows what that could be related to.
Yeah, you know how they roll. So, but I think tonight's been a fantastic episode, you guys. And before we sign out, I've always got something good for you. So, what do you call a pirate that uses a pumpkin as a belt?
What?
A squashbuckler. Thank you guys. You have a great night.